Welcome to The Explainer. I am so pumped you're here because today we are diving into a seriously fascinating text to solve a mystery. It's a mystery that literally every single one of us has faced at some point. I'm talking about the mystery of the no. You know what I mean, right? We're going to explore why things don't always go the way we want them to. If you're around 10 years old, or honestly any age where you're starting to figure out how this whole world works, you've probably noticed life doesn't just hand you exactly what you ask for. So we're going to unpack a classic devotional text that gives us a completely different, totally mind-blowing way to look at our disappointments.
Think about it for a second. Have you ever wanted something so incredibly badly, but the answer was just a flat-out hard no? Maybe it was a trip to an amusement park that got totally washed out by rain. Or maybe you trained so hard to make a certain sports team and you didn't get picked. Or, maybe you just really wanted to stay up late and it just didn't happen. That disappointment, it is very real. It hurts. It feels like your perfectly crafted plan just crashed headfirst into a brick wall. But what if that brick wall was actually put there on purpose, to protect you? Okay, let's dive into this and see how our source text handles this exact frustration. Right off the bat, the text gives us a really stark contrast. On one side, we have what it calls our devised plans. These are basically the blueprints we draw up for our own lives. And according to the devotional, our blueprints, well, they often fail. But on the flip side, we have God's plans. The text tells us that his plans are always a complete success. It's essentially saying that our plans are frequently allowed to fail so that the master builder's plans for us can actually succeed. I mean, imagine you're trying to build a treehouse, but your blueprint has a massive mistake in it that would make the whole thing just collapse. Wouldn't you want a master architect to step in, say no way to your drawing, and hand you a much better one?
And that brings us to the core thesis of this entire text, which comes from a super famous verse, Romans 8:28. It promises that all things work together for good to them that love God. Now pay close attention to the wording here. It does not say that all things are good. A canceled trip? Not good. Failing a math test? Definitely not good. But the promise here is that all those things are somehow working together for an ultimate good. It's kind of like baking a cake. If you just eat a giant spoonful of raw flour or crack a raw egg right into your mouth, yuck, right? It tastes terrible. But when the master baker mixes all those gross ingredients together and bakes them, they work together to create something absolutely amazing. To really understand how this works, the text introduces a big, fancy word that we need to break down: providence. Providence is simply defined as God's wise discipline, control, and guidance of all things for our ultimate good. Think of providence like a giant, invisible steering wheel for your life. God is the one driving. So, when the text talks about having a heart surrender to God's wise discipline, it just means trusting the person holding that steering wheel. Even when the car suddenly turns down a super bumpy, muddy dirt road instead of that smooth highway you want it to take, providence means believing the driver actually knows a shortcut to an even better destination. So how in the world do we actually learn to trust the driver? The devotional describes this process as the school of experience. And just like any school, there are grades or steps you have to pass to level up. Step 1 is to learn humility. Step 2 is to face sober duties. Sober duties is just an old school way of saying the plain, everyday chores and responsibilities of real life, like doing your homework or cleaning your room without complaining. Step 3 is prepare for higher work. The text argues that doing the boring, everyday stuff is actually the exact training you need before you can be trusted with the really exciting, big things you want to do. I mean, you can't run a marathon before you learn how to tie your shoes, right? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the psychology behind it all. The author points out that if God just gave us a blank check and let everyone do exactly as they pleased all the time, it would be a total disaster. The quote says, "Conceit and pride would be fostered and the grace of humility would not be cherished." Let's translate that. If you got everything you wanted the very second you asked for it, you would become incredibly spoiled, super proud, and completely unteachable. The text insists that becoming a truly great person is only possible if you learn how to be humble first. This leads us to a really profound realization about those times we hear a no. The text suggests that unanswered prayers or privileges we get denied are actually hidden blessings. They protect us from what the author calls fruitless striving, which basically means spinning your wheels and getting nowhere. Imagine you're walking down a path toward a bridge, but the bridge is totally broken and you can't see it yet. A blocked path, a no, is just a barricade protecting you from wasting your energy or getting hurt, so you're totally free and ready when your true higher work finally comes along. But look, let's be totally real for a second. Even when we know a no might be good for us in the long run, it still hurts in the moment. And the text warmly validates this by using a powerful weather metaphor. Listen to this. We need not expect all sunshine in this world. Clouds and storms will cluster about us. I absolutely love this because it's just so realistic. The text isn't telling you to fake a smile and pretend you're thrilled when things go wrong. It acknowledges that life is going to have difficult, stormy, and very dark moments. You are going to face clouds. However, the source offers some incredibly comforting advice for when you find yourself stuck in one of those storms. The instruction is to keep your eyes directed right where you saw the light last. Why? Well, because the rays of the sun might be hidden by those dark clouds, but they are still there. The sun didn't just vanish from the universe, right? It is just temporarily blocked from your view. It still shines beyond the cloud. You just have to wait for the wind to blow the clouds away. Plus, the text reminds us that we actually prize the sunlight a whole lot more after we've been sitting in the dark for a while. So what exactly are you supposed to do while you are sitting there waiting for those clouds to clear? The devotional gives us a really clear 4-step action plan for navigating the dark. 1. Wait. Just be patient. 2. Watch. Pay attention to what you can learn in the meantime. 3. Pray. Keep talking to the master builder. And 4. Believe. Trust that he is still in control of the situation. It says we will see salvation if we can actively trust him in the dark just as much as we do when they're standing in the light. And the reason we can confidently wait, watch, pray, and believe is found in this massive promise. The devotional insists that everything is in God's hands. And it doesn't just mean the good stuff, the peace, the safety, the success. It means the hard things too. All the trials and all the afflictions. He controls them entirely for the good of his children. The text reminds us that we are absolutely allowed to ask for anything and everything, but we have to submit our requests to his wise purposes. Basically, we can ask for a giant bag of candy, but we have to trust the parent who says, no, it's going to ruin your dinner. Okay, let's move to and see how this builds into the grand finale of the text's message. Just look at this timeline. In our past days, our fond hopes and our little devised plans often failed. In our present time, right now, we are sitting in the school of experience, dealing with all these tangles and mysteries that confuse and annoy us. But look at future eternity. The text promises that in the future life, every single one of those confusing tangles and mysteries that disappointed us will be fully, completely explained. It's like a giant messy knot will finally be untangled, and we'll step back and see this beautiful tapestry. And when that knot is finally untangled, here is the ultimate reveal. The text says we will see that the prayers and hopes for certain things, which have been withheld, have been among our greatest blessings. Take a second to let that really sink in. The very things God said no to, the doors that were slammed in your face, the stuff you wanted so badly but didn't get, you will look back and realize those were actually the biggest gifts you were ever given. They kept you safe, they kept you humble, and they kept you right on track for your true purpose. And I think that brilliantly illustrates the whole point of our explainer today. We've seen how our blueprints fail so the master builder's plans can succeed. We've seen how the school of experience uses boring chores and closed doors to prepare us for an incredible future. So I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. The next time you face a storm, a major disappointment, or a frustratingly closed door, will you remember the sun is still behind those clouds? Will you trust the master builder's plan? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Keep asking great questions and keep looking for the light.